this transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado. It wasn't just a big night of fights. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Left hand from Ron Paul. Right hand, right back from Mike Perry. Can I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City. What a night it is going to be. Historic indeed for BKFC's 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Early on the turn. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence?
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to be back with you. We've got a great week planned for you folks. Football season is here. Training camp's underway. First preseason game coming up this weekend. So I know a lot of sports bettors out there very interested in our network. Thanks for jumping on board here this morning. But on our show, we're going to talk lots of Olympic Games. Of course, they are underway. This weekend's been fantastic, and it continues all throughout the week on our coverage here on the show. Is going to be intense. Carlan Gay is going to join us from Sporting News. We'll talk all about the women's basketball, gold medal, silver, bronze. We got a lot of that coming up as well. Mike Mazzeo with us from Legal Sports Report. We'll also check in on the Kansas City Chiefs training camp, take a look at their season win total, go through the odds. And then, folks, we got about 30 hours or so until the Major League Baseball trade deadline is completed. And surprisingly to me, we saw a lot of big deals going on before the deadline. I was not sure that we were going to get anything, but we did, and still some more to go. So I'll have an update on those as well. Another trade happened this morning. Let's start off with the Olympic Games. The women, the favorite to win the gold. Here's the reason why. They beat Germany yesterday, dominated. Final score 4-1. Sophia Smith scored twice. Mallory Swanson scored again. And so did Lynn Williams. The Americans now play Wednesday in their last match in Group B, and they're going to play Australia. They're heavily favored in that one as well. And they got a great shot to take this whole thing home. We, of course, will keep an eye on that. All right, as far as Canada is concerned, amidst all the controversy that they have had with their coach being ousted, they have moved on as well. Canada wins 2-1 the final there, and they come back against France, which was a huge win. Vanessa Giles scored 12 minutes into a 13-minute stoppage time to finish off the 2-1 win. And naturally, the punishment of their coach came on Saturday night. Giles said with the game winner that she almost broke her hand punching a wall. This is never advisable in sports. Stop punching things. It never ends well. Team USA gets a win over Serbia. They were 12.5-point favorites. They covered easily. 110-84, the final score there as Team USA moves on. Things will get a little bit more difficult for them. Serbia was not the favorite to win the gold, the silver, bronze, or anything like that. But needless to say, one of the stories out of this was that the sitting time came for Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. Both did not play in Team USA's game, but Steve Kerr says that Tatum will have an opportunity to get some time.
Yeah, it's tough, but Jason handled it really well. I talked to him today before the game that it may play out this way, just with Kevin coming back and the lineups that I wanted to get to. But that'll change. Jason's going to play. Every game's going to be different based on matchups. He's a total pro. He's first team All-NBA 3 years in a row. I felt like an idiot not playing him, but in a 40-minute game, you can't play more than 10. You really can't. And, so I think he's an amazing guy, great player, and handled it beautifully. And, he'll be back out there next game.
All right, a couple of young guys not playing yet for Team USA, but again, still a long way to go in their journey toward the gold. Meanwhile, same can be said for Coco Gauff. She advances to the third round, playing fantastic tennis as it stands right now. One of the favorites to potentially even win it all, which would be an amazing accomplishment for Coco Gauff. And also, as far as people watching the Olympics, at least through the first few days, the viewership is on the rise. Streaming options for NBC and Peacock and everything else. A lot of people watching the Olympics right now as it stands in Paris. And this even despite the fact that they're 6 hours ahead of us. All right, now let's get to some more tennis. Novak Djokovic defeats Rafael Nadal, and that one has now gone final 6-1, 6-4 in the second round on Monday. And it's possibly the last time these two will face off against one another because Nadal is getting ready to call it quits, at least from what we understand. Djokovic now owns 24 Grand Slam titles, and Nadal 22, so 46 between the two of them. Andy Murray, how about this crazy story? His career continues. He won 3 Grand Slam titles and 2 Olympics, and also had an insane victory in a super tiebreaker. And he was down 9-4 in the deciding super tiebreaker. Ended up coming back, got the last point, and Murray and Evans in this doubles match ended up going crazy to win this one. And needless to say, he moves on as well. All right, Leon Marchand dominates in the 400-meter individual medley. 22-year-old Frenchman put himself in a position to be one of the best stars at the Olympics. A swimming gold for France with a dominant victory in the men's 400-meter Sunday night. And not surprisingly, he has been mentioned as the next Michael Phelps. We'll see if that is the case. Simone Biles hurt again. She's battling injuries, same like she was in Tokyo, same like she was about a month ago, but she's just trying to pull through this to see if she can end up making it through the Olympics and maybe medal in some way. All right, Major League Baseball. As I said, the next 30 or so hours, we're probably going to see a lot of activity, especially from the Chicago White Sox, who are on pace to have the worst record ever in baseball, haven't traded anyone yet. You assume that they would. Kansas City Royals also are now in the trade deadline mix. They finally add a player. A player that they have added is a starting pitcher, Michael Lorenzen. They get him from the Texas Rangers. Rangers haven't really set a signal yet as to what they're going to do, but this is a subtraction from their roster, not an add. Take that as it will. The Chicago Cubs also make a trade yesterday, trading a player who played every day for them in exchange for an all-star and someone they'll control for the future. They send Christopher Morel, who was having a tough season, to the Tampa Bay Rays, who have been the most active team, for Isaac Paredes, who takes over immediately as the Cubs' starting third baseman. The New York Yankees, as you may have seen over the weekend, added Jazz Chisholm Jr. in a trade broken by somebody you may know here on SportsGrid. Could have been me. Philadelphia Phillies get Carlos Estevez for a couple of pitching prospects. Phillies probably not done as well. They're the favorite to at least face the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. Dodgers have been quiet as well. That will change. Also, the Phillies and Orioles made a trade over the weekend. Austin Hayes goes to Philadelphia, hoping for some more playing time. And Sir Anthony Dominguez goes to Baltimore. Also, the Orioles get Zach Eflin, a starter from Tampa Bay. And the Mariners get Randy Arozarena from the Tampa Bay Rays, who stayed and watched his team play, even though he wasn't on the team the next day. The Padres have also added Jason Adam from Tampa Bay. Rays are just making trades and making more trades and making even more trades, so stay tuned there. Boy, the Atlanta Braves, they haven't done anything yet, but they may have to. I mean, another injury for the Atlanta Braves. This time it's Reynaldo Lopez, their starting pitcher. They've already lost Max Fried to the IL. Strider for the season. Now Lopez is out. Acuna is out. Albies is out. Braves are just, going through it this season. We'll see what happens when they diagnose this forearm issue. The Dodgers get a final game win against the Astros. Teoscar Hernandez, Gavin Lux, James Outman all hit home runs. Yankees beat the Red Sox. They take 2 out of 3 at Fenway, including a win last night on Sunday Night Baseball. And how about this? A cycle for Xavier Edwards of the Miami Marlins, which included his first home run as a pro for Xavier Edwards. That's for the cycle in the loss yesterday against Milwaukee. All right, let's head over to the gridiron over on the National Football League. Again, we're getting ready for the NFL preseason. It is coming soon. And we got some contract extensions. The Lions have just given out money like it's out of style. Taylor Decker's the latest one. He signs a new 3-year contract extension, $60 million. The Cowboys have lost defensive end Sam Williams for the season with a torn ACL. He was going to be part of their pass rushing defense behind DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. He has 8.5 sacks, 2 seasons, not going to have any this year. Also, a very interesting medical story here that we'll have to keep an eye on is Christian Barmore, very talented defensive tackle for the Patriots, is now out indefinitely due to blood clots. It was announced yesterday. In April, they signed him to a 4-year contract extension worth $92 million, $41.8 million guaranteed. But naturally, with the health and safety protocols in the NFL, and especially everything that happened last season on the field with DeMar Hamlin, or the season before that, I should say, got to make sure that these guys are taken care of in a big way. All right, coming up next, who is going to win the gold for the women in basketball? Carlan Gay was with us on the show last week. Gave us some pretty strong opinions, and they actually were legit. U.S. did dominate Serbia, like he said, so we'll see if we can get some good ones today. We'll go over Canada and France. Team USA takes on Japan today at 3 o'clock Eastern. USA probably going to win, but will they cover the spread? We'll tell you next.
Are there any grave issues that would keep Team USA from winning a gold medal?
Should they be minus 430 against the field or whatever the price is right now? Maybe. But am I looking at, hey, Europe as a continent to win the Olympics at plus 500 as an interesting bet? Yeah. One, they have 5 teams in the Olympics out of 12.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
He talked about Major League Baseball and its rule, or actually its relationship with sports betting and gambling.
Integrity is the foremost concern, and a lot of people are questioning that given all the scandals, right? There's Mercado, there's Pat Hoberg, one of the best umpires in MLB, suspended right now. We don't exactly know what he did, but he's been disciplined, and he hasn't umpired a game this year.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded, and he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. All right, so I think in looking at the results of some of the games Carlan told us about, he won more than he lost, which is all you can ask for with giving out picks. I think USA won, Spain lost, I think. I think he had 2 out of 3 with that, but he was really strong on Team USA, clobbering Serbia, and they did. Now, Carlan, I don't know if you're going to get these right for the women. If you get these right on the women's side, I'll be super impressed because, I mean, I got to tell you, this is not my wheelhouse. Olympic basketball on the women's side. Thank you for coming on. And I don't know enough about this to really go through it here, but I'm going to try and do my best. Thanks for coming on the show.
Always good to be here. And guess what? Over 2 weeks, when the Olympics are on, everyone's an expert about everything. Water polo,
That's
fencing.
true.
It doesn't matter. If you're watching it for 5 minutes, you know what's happening.
Yeah, you do. All right. So let's start off. Carlan does cover international basketball, so easier for him than me. 11:15 a.m. Eastern, which is now. Canada takes on France. France 9.5-point favorites. 141.5 is the total. So it looks like one of the more low-scoring defensive matchups, I would say, based on the total. And also maybe France plays some sort of lockdown defense. That's me knowing nothing, Carlan, based on what I see with the point spread here.
Yeah, you're close on it, honestly, because you look at France and you look at Canada, two teams who, from countries that are known for basketball, right? Like Canada has a bunch of WNBA players on the roster. France has two really good guards in Maureen Johannes and Gabby Williams. And those two players are really going to carry this squad. And in international basketball, Craig, you'll find out over the next 2 weeks, if you do not have guard play, you are going to lose. France has great guard play with Johannes and Williams. They should beat Canada in this one. I don't think they'll cover the spread. It's going to be a lot closer than the close to 10-point spread that they have. So I would take Canada to get there and keep it close. But okay. you look at this France team, and they have aspirations beyond this game. Getting the first win at home, getting the first win out of the gate is going to take a lot of pressure off of them in a very, very tough and competitive group. So take France for the win, but they're not going to cover it.
Okay, so the points is the way to go there. Now, in doing some pre-show work here, just to take a look at sort of the spread and what's going on here, I can't find anyone even backing Japan on the spread at all here, Carlan, in this game. I guess Japan is one of the. To say you're a bad team, I don't want to do that because these are kids at the Olympics. But apparently, one of the poorer teams participating in Paris is Japan. They're getting 20.5 today and a high total of 160.5. So is this indeed a blowout game for Team USA?
It is going to be a blowout game, much like most of the games, that Team USA are going to compete in. Japan is a really good team, an interesting team, I would say, at this Olympic Games because they play a different style than anyone else. They're going to take and try to make a lot of three-pointers. No one else at the women's basketball game in the women's basketball field plays like this. They're going to shoot a ton of threes. It's going to look crazy, right? Like if you're watching this game, it's going to be confusing why they're just kind of jacking shots with 14 seconds on the shot clock. But that's the way they play. They just want possessions. They just want to get up as many shots as possible. They're trying to beat a math game more so than try to beat a team basketball-wise. So they're gonna keep it close. It's going to be the most nervous you'll ever be covering a 20-point spread, but USA should cover it. But it's going to be closer to that 20 points. It's not going to be 30 or 40. It's not going to be comfortable. You're going to be sweating it out late in the game because Japan is going to continue shooting threes. And if they get hot at any point in these quarters, it will bring that score line down a little bit. The U.S., like I said, should cover it, but I think it's going to be closer to like 22, 23 points when it's all said and done, just because of the amount of possessions that Japan is going to have and the amount of threes that they're going to put up. They're going to make you sweat a little bit.
Sounds like, Carlan, we're going down to the last bucket of the game here. Japan has the ball, taking a three to cover the spread. I don't want to be down that road. Okay, so guys, let's throw up this quick graphic for the gold medal, and then let's move on because, again, there's really nothing to say. Team USA is a heavy favorite, and if anybody wins, it would be one of the biggest upsets in Olympic history. It's 24-1 as the next team. So let's show people the silver. Okay, let's do this. Assuming, I don't want to ever assume anything, but we got to play this game. If Team USA wins and it's not a bettable line, you really can make some money here, Carlan, because everybody is bunched up. Australia, France, Spain, Belgium, China. All within 5-1 to win the silver. And even after that, Canada and Japan to a degree, 10-1. Who you got here? Who's like the second best team at this?
So it all comes down to what happens today in this Canada, France game that's happening right now as we speak. I would have France, out of the best bets there. Australia already played today. They lost to Nigeria. That is a huge upset. And not only did they lose, they lost by 13 points. So it's not only the loss, but it's also trying to get back in that point differential to be that third team, if it comes down to it, to get to the knockout stage. So Australia's a write-off. They're missing Beck Allen, who's a huge piece of that team, and the guard play just hasn't been there for them. So I would erase them off the board. Belgium shockingly lost today as well. They got beat by Germany in a German squad who looked really good on the court, and they might be that underdog squad with two Satu Sabali and Niara Sabali, two sisters who play in the WNBA, play great basketball. They were actually injured when I did the tournament back in Brazil for them to get to the Olympic Games. They toughed it out. Satu Sabali separated her shoulder in that tournament, finished it off. Niara Sabali had a knee injury. She finished that tournament off. I watched them this morning. They look great. This is as healthy as I've seen them in quite some time. So Germany would be that sleeper team. So I would say France, Germany, and the U.S. Are the three teams that I'm looking to see step on the podium. And guess what? Early in the tournament, I picked Australia. Totally wrong on that. But I'm going to give myself a pass because Beck Allen got injured and she's not there, and she's a huge piece to this team.
All right. So to win the MVP of the Olympics, it's all players from Team USA. I mean, all of them here. So but again, look, we saw how the NBA Finals worked out, where we had a favorite very early on, and that switched like right before the end. Is Asia Wilson maybe the favorite here? But is there someone fun here to maybe take a stab at here?
I can't believe that we're getting 340 for Breanna Stewart. I would pound that, because she's as good as Asia Wilson, is going to have as many opportunities with the basketball in her hands as Asia Wilson. So I'm hammering Breanna Stewart all the way home.
All right, fair enough. Carlan, great stuff as always. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, Olympic Games in Paris. We're covering it for you. We got the SportsGrid sound off next. Don't go away.
Are there any grave issues that would keep Team USA from winning a gold medal?
Should they be minus 430 against the field or whatever the price is right now? Maybe. But am I looking at, hey, Europe as a continent to win the Olympics at plus 500 as an interesting bet? Yeah, because one, they have 5 teams in the Olympics out of the 12.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He talked about Major League Baseball and its rule, or actually its relationship with sports betting and gambling.
Integrity is the foremost concern, and a lot of people are questioning that given all the scandals, right? There's Mercado, there's Pat Hoberg, one of the best umpires in MLB, suspended right now. We don't exactly know what he did, but he's been disciplined, and he hasn't umpired a game this year.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tips has been rewarded, and he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire. Time now for the Sports Grid Sound Off. We'll cover some NFL, Major League Baseball, and even some golf as well. Let's get started in the National Football League. Yes, folks, training camp is here. And, naturally, it's honestly been a little quiet from NFL training camps. Just some holdout stuff that is all going to change once the NFL preseason begins. The Hall of Fame game is coming up real soon. I believe it is August the 1st, right? So that's is that the 3 days from now? Is that right? 3 days from now? That's crazy. Tua Tagovailoa over the weekend got paid. He and Jordan Love both got contract extensions. We talked about this on Fantasy Sports today. Meanwhile, Tua, in a funny way of getting with the fans, let them have the microphone, and a lot of them were really happy to sort of get involved. Tua's been a breath of fresh air in the organization. It's been so long, by the way, since Jerry Maguire came out. I wonder if there's a lot of people that are watching that have no idea what Show Me the Money means. I mean, we've really hit that stage of the game and in life. But needless to say, Tua, really, really cool guy. And, the Dolphins are very, very fortunate, I think, to have him. Good thing that they signed him to a contract extension because quarterback play in the NFL is rough. Meanwhile, the sports consigliere. How about this? Dave Sharapan getting involved with our Sports Grid Sound Off. It's Paul Skeens Day in Pittsburgh, and Dave is a huge fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates. In fact, he recently visited PNC Park, so he's getting ready for Skeens Day today. Here's a preview.
You know what day it is? It is Monday, but it's a Skeens Day, and that means Paul Skeens is on the hill for my Pittsburgh Pirates. Everybody bets them. The books know that. The line starts somewhere on the overnight, and it goes nowhere but up. By the time you get to the game in the evening, it's probably too high. If you're going to bet it early and lay the money line. Those games are tight. They don't hit when he pitches. So first 5 Pirates on the road, guaranteed 5 at-bats. Maybe Pirates money line in the first 5. Little better play. The K-prop, probably a good day to take a pass. It's too high. 8.5, it's going to make you sweat. But if you're going to play it, you have to play it over. Thanks. Enjoy.
All right, Dave Sharapan, Sportsbook Consigliere. 8.5, a strikeout prop for a Major League Baseball pitcher. 8.5. He's right, kind of unbettable. You know what else has been unbettable? Jon Rahm, one of the favorites to win every single match on the PGA Tour last year before he went over to Live Golf, has had a really hard time since joining Live Golf, not winning nearly as much, has had some injuries as well. He did finally pick up his first Live Golf Tour win and got it in the United Kingdom. Very exciting moment, as he talked about after his victory.
Well, it's also, first of all, it's my first win since Masters last year, right? So a little bit longer than I would have liked, especially because I feel like I've put myself in position many times during that year. And yeah, leaving right before I went to Valderrama, Kelly was telling me how Kepa said that he wanted me to bring a trophy home. And the funny thing is, I played the Queenwood Cup in London with a good friend of mine. It's a pro member at Queenwood Country Club, and we won it. Now that Kelly and the kids are watching, just knowing that I'm bringing a trophy home for them feels good to say that it's coming home.
It is. And for Jon Rahm, again, he was arguably the world's best golfer going into 2023's PGA Tour season. Scottie Scheffler, I think it's fair to say, has taken that from him, although Xander Schauffele has been fantastic this year, too. Live Golf has been great. We have a lot of coverage right here on SportsGrid. You can catch it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on demand. Also, go to sportsgrid.com or just download the SportsGrid app to learn more about our Live Golf programming, which we have exclusively here at SportsGrid. There is the app that has a QR code. You can download it if you are a little confused with what I'm saying. That's available for iOS, Android. Just open up your phone, scan that thing, download the SportsGrid app, completely free, by the way. It doesn't charge you a cent. All right, Mike Mazzeo is up next from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into the very latest on sports betting around the country. Don't go away.
Are there any grave issues that would keep Team USA from winning a gold medal?
Should they be minus 430 against the field or whatever the price is right now? Maybe. But am I looking at, hey, Europe as a continent to win the Olympics at plus 500 as an interesting bet? Yeah, because one, they have 5 teams in the Olympics out of the 12.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup? What you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He talked about Major League Baseball and its rule, or actually its relationship with sports betting and gambling.
Integrity is the foremost concern, and a lot of people are questioning that given all the scandals, right? There's Mercano, there's Pat Hoberg, one of the best umpires in MLB, suspended right now. We don't exactly know what he did, but he's been disciplined, and he hasn't umpired a game this year.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tips has been rewarded, and he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. You know, it's interesting. My producer Frank and I were discussing before the show. I got to say, it's probably easier to bet on some of these events in Paris than it is to actually find like the final scores and when they're playing. Like, you probably could get more information from the sports betting apps than just online. It is not that easy, Mike. Like, you're Googling like what's going on with this team, that team. Like, I'll Google Canada, I'll get like swimming or something. I'll be like, no, give me basketball. Like, it's not the easiest thing to figure out online, unless I guess you're like a psycho with this and you're watching 24/7. But I can only imagine, with this being a slow time of the year, being one of the main reasons why people are so engaged on betting on the Paris Olympics. Like right now, Mike, we are about to exit the dead zone of sports.
Yeah, Craig, I totally agree with you, first off, on finding stuff, right? Like, Paris is a few hours ahead. I think it makes an optimal time for betting, but it was hard to figure out what time stuff was starting. And then you go to a website, it would be in Paris time, not Eastern Standard Time. So I totally agree with you there. The Associated Press talked to BetMGM, and they project it's going to be the largest bet Olympics in the legal sports betting era. I think it's pretty obvious, given that now I think we have 38 states plus D.C., at the time of the Tokyo COVID Olympics, I think we had 22 states. So that obviously is a huge factor. And then, again, if you're a local sports fan, to your point, and you're going on FanDuel, you don't have to go on there at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., local time out in the Olympics. You're getting your games on prime time, whether it's 6 a.m., 2 p.m., whatever it is, because they're so far ahead. It's really optimal for betting. And so I think with the interest of the U.S. men's basketball team, obviously heavy favorites with a pretty solid win over Serbia. Women's basketball team also a favorite. U.S. women's soccer, really nice win over Germany yesterday. A lot of these very popular teams are going to be bet on. whether that's, your standard money line spread or your player props. And those are heavily there. And then, like you said, you've got some sports people probably haven't watched, gymnastics, some other things that we're really good at, but people aren't turning into every day. They're turning in every 4 years. And, I think there's a lot of interest in track and field. BetMGM said the 100-meter men's. So there are a lot of great events in the Olympics, once every 4-year deal, optimal time, expanded sports betting market. And then, who knows, maybe you hope 4 years from now we'll have Texas and California. We'll see whether that's the case.
Right.
It's not a certainty, but again, in 4 years, you should have even greater interest because hopefully you have more states, especially the ones that have been difficult to move due to either legislative, tribal, whatever reasons that they haven't. This should only expand. So incredible time, really nice to watch some sports you don't usually see. And like you said, slower period with just basically baseball and golf. Now you add in tons of sports, tons of interest, tons of star power.
Yeah, no, look, it's been fun, no question. And the results aside, it's a fun watch when it's live. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, so now let's get to the business of sports betting. This is what we always lean on you for here, Mike. I saw this again on social media. Prize Picks, who had an opportunity a few months ago, I thought, to potentially get out of the game with all of this peer-to-peer stuff going on in some of these states saying, hey, look, you got to get out of this state and that state. An interesting time to sell if you are Prize Picks. I don't know what this really means and if this will happen, but wouldn't this be a case of sort of selling low if that's the case, or do they fear that there just may not be a business for them in the future?
Yeah, Craig, I think that's a great point. We'll see. Right now it is all speculation. Bloomberg reporting that Prize Picks is exploring mergers and acquisitions. It doesn't seem like they want to sell, according to Bloomberg. And that makes a lot of sense, Craig. If you talk to industry sources in the financial industry in terms of sports books, they'll tell you, Prize Picks is profitable. Prize Picks has a massive customer database. Those are probably their two biggest assets. They've obviously just opened a huge 33,000 square foot headquarters in Atlanta. So none of that really leads you to believe that they're going to sell. Perhaps they do, and this comes out of left field, so we'll see. But certainly in busy time in M&A, we've seen IGT, we've seen Bally's, we've seen Flutter, Boyd, ESPN Bet, that rumor out there. Whether any of this stuff comes to fruition, we'll see. As you alluded to, Prize Picks has faced a lot of uproar from various jurisdictions in terms of offering what's deemed illegal against the house fantasy contests, most notably in Florida and New York. New York, they had to pay a $15 million settlement. We'll see with California. The Attorney General has to decide whether this is legal or not. And if it isn't, then, again, that's another avenue they don't have. Right now they have a big advantage, to play the long game. If they acquire a small sports book, Greg, they could potentially get California and Texas, you hope in like 4 to 6 years, if not earlier. And, they would have a massive database of players already there to be able to send, promotions, download already have the fantasy app downloaded and can transition to sports betting, because probably a lot of those customers are sports betting customers, not necessarily iGaming. They have this huge advantage. They have a really strong Discord channel, according to people in the industry, that a lot of bettors like to go to, even a lot of bettors that are successful. So, this is a company that has made waves, has made money. FanDuel and DraftKings don't want them around, and obviously have argued properly that what they're doing in terms of against the house is illegal, as regulators have agreed with them. And so we'll see where this goes, whether or not they are able to acquire a sports book, or, somebody comes out of nowhere and acquires them,
right.
Which, again, you would get the database, you would have a profitable company that, again, just built a headquarters, which leads you to believe that's not the case. But that's all speculation on my part to suggest that they're not going to be sold. And that's what Bloomberg says as well. And it in this scenario, feels like more likely that they would acquire a smaller sports book and try to go that direction, really pivot to that regulated marketplace, and potentially ultimately be able to use those advantages they've gained through the databases in California and Texas to expand operations there when those states legalize.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a company we'll keep our eye on here as the summer and fall progresses. iGaming is a hot topic across the country as far as betting on it. New York is no stranger to that. I know a recent poll has come out that I saw that you posted on social media. Not all that encouraging as far as pushing this through, I don't think, based on the numbers here. People can interpret polls any way that they want, Mike, but with these percentages that I'm seeing for iGaming, it would seem to me that it would need to be a lot stronger than this to get pushed through. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Craig, I think, this was not maybe the best numbers. Joe Dabo had polled 532 constituents in his district, which is in Queens, in New York City. and only 44% supported iGaming to legalize it. 33% were against it, and 23% were unsure. So obviously, like you said, you want those numbers in the 50s, 60s. You hope to get to 70s, huge numbers. So not the case, and we'll see where it goes. Dabo's been trying to get iGaming for the last 2 years. He's been unsuccessful, but I think his push will continue until late 2024, 2025, this next session. And he's got a lot of work to do. The hotel council, the trades council, has been against this. It hasn't had any governor support, hasn't been on the executive budget. That's really where things start if you want to move things. They're working on the downstate casino licenses, which is kind of slow to a crawl. Hopefully get that going. New York legislation doesn't like to do two gaming things at once usually. So, I think there's a lot of things working against this. You hope that, the state needs money. They always feel like the budget, is at a deficit. They need $1 billion. Well, here's where they can get it by flipping on a switch, basically. All the operators in New York complained about the 51% tax rate. Under the bill that didn't pass, iGaming was 30.5%, and I believe, according to people I just spoke to, I've forgotten this, that would mean that the sports betting operators would drop to 30.5%. That was their big thing at Nickel G's, was we're paying too many taxes, especially in New York. Legislators are like, we're not going to drop them. We're not going to take money away from school kids to give it to corporations. So, you're kind of deadlocked there, and the push will continue. Like you said, not the most encouraging numbers, but, we'll see. This obviously is the last push for Joe Dabo. He's going to be pushing this thing pretty hard coming up next legislative session.
All right. Well, Mike, awesome stuff as always. Enjoy the Olympics, and certainly trade deadline in baseball. I know coming up tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be very active. We'll keep an eye on it. Thanks again for coming here on NewsWire.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. I'll be checking your Twitter for updates.
All right. Hopefully, I'll have something here in the next 24 hours. Very tenuous time for me doing this too. But what happens is I get the notification for my screen time and how much I have. And it's, I think I saw 9 hours a day for last week. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, that's embarrassing. But usually it's like 2 or 3, 9 hours a day. What am I doing? Anyway, coming up next, Carrington Harrison joins us to talk some Chiefs football. Don't go away.
Are there any grave issues that would keep Team USA from winning a gold medal?
Should they be minus 430 against the field or whatever the price is right now? Maybe. But am I looking at, Europe as a continent to win the Olympics at plus 500 as an interesting bet? Yeah, because one, they have 5 teams in the Olympics out of the 12.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup? What you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
He talked about Major League Baseball and its rule, or actually its relationship with sports betting and gambling.
Integrity is the foremost concern, and a lot of people are questioning that given all the scandals, right? There's Mercano, there's Pat Hoberg, one of the best umpires in MLB, suspended right now. We don't exactly know what he did, but he's been disciplined, and he hasn't umpired a game this year.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded, and he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire here on Sports Grid. Training camps for NFL, of course, off and running with the Hall of Fame game coming and the NFL preseason beginning late next week. Carrington Harrison has got a great gig. It's covering and talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. And Carrington, I don't know how long you've been doing this for, but if you were doing this, 15, 20 years ago, it would have not been nearly as much fun as it has been over the past 10 years. But when you're covering and talking about a winner, like you have been with the Chiefs every single season, it's just a matter of asking, can they get back to where they were? And I guess that's probably a good place to start. So thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that absolutely is a great place to start. I'm born and raised in Kansas City, so trust me, there's not much you're going to be able to throw at me in terms of disappointment. I was here for the Matt Castle days. I was here for the Alex Smith days. They had a playoff game against the Indianapolis Colts in which they lost 9-7 and they missed 3 field goals when I was a kid. They played Peyton Manning in a postseason game and they did not force a punt back in 2003. So I know all about Chiefs heartbreak, sir.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there, and even before that in the 80s too. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the players that left, and you tell me if any of them, and naturally this is going to happen with a really good team, some of these players get overpaid, as you know, Carrington, to go to other teams. I think the one name that stands out the most, which I guess is surprising, I guess just from a pure football standpoint, is that L'Jarius Sneed is no longer there after how good he was with the Chiefs. But contractually speaking, there's only so many players you can pay. I guess that would be my fair assessment there. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect assessment, at least of this team. L'Jarius Sneed was one of the better corners last year in the National Football League. But I think you came to the point, especially with Trent McDuffie's emergence, turning into an all-pro caliber player, that you're going to have to make a decision on one of them. You're probably not going to be able to pay both of them market value. So how do you want to build your team? Corner is also a position that the Chiefs have developed really well. I mean, they did it with Charvarius Ward. They let him go. He went to San Francisco, became a Pro Bowl caliber player. L'Jarius Sneed was the replacement for Charvarius Ward. Sneed obviously turned into a very good player. So now we'll see guys like Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams. Those are going to be the two main culprits who are pegged with the responsibility of replacing L'Jarius Sneed. Let's also not forget that after Bill Belichick, the Chiefs might have the best defensive coordinator over the last 30 years in the NFL with Steve Spagnuolo. He won championships with the Giants, and now he has won 3 separate championships with Kansas City. So we're talking about a defensive mastermind that is going to scheme up this defense that returns, aside from L'Jarius Sneed, they return basically almost everybody else.
Yeah, and the Chiefs, while their offense is talked about a lot, their defense was really the calling card, I thought, for all of last season up until the playoffs. And, I know they've tried to make some subtle changes to the offense, but it felt like this offseason, for the first time, they made some significant changes on offense, adding some potentially helpful players instead of just recycling old receivers by getting Marquise Brown from Arizona. So that was an addition. Naturally, some of these other players you see there, Irv Smith, Matt Araiza, who knows how they'll factor in. But then they draft Xavier Worthy also. And if you're just playing the numbers game, I assume that between Brown and Worthy, if one of them really makes a nice step, then the Chiefs accomplish what they wanted to in the offseason.
Craig, I'm starting to think that you can take my job. You and I have the exact same opinions on the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
I'm just guessing.
Last year they had a bottom 5 wide receiver group. I mean, we all saw it. We saw the opening week game against the Lions, the big drops from Kadarius Toney in the Broncos game. Sky Moore with a couple of big drops. MVS had a couple of big drops. To let you know where they are now, I think a lot of people would have said that MVS was in the conversation of either one. Not on the team, signed a 1-year deal somewhere else. Sky Moore is in danger of missing this team. Kadarius Toney, they're talking about switching him positions to running back. So that'll let you know where they were last year. I'm 100% with you. When you factor in Isaiah Pacheco in the run game, you got Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, who I know had some off-the-field issues, but I don't think he's going to be suspended, at least not to start the season. And then the 2 additions that you named. I mean, you got 5 really solid offensive weapons. And last year, for an offense that really lacked punch, it didn't have a whole lot of sizzle last year. You certainly have that when you bring in the fastest player at the combine in Xavier Worthy and a guy in Hollywood Brown who has had a previous 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, it just feels like they finally, outside of like Juju Smith-Schusters and like those kind of recycled receivers, they finally took a step forward in trying to fix this. And by the way, thanks for mentioning that with Rice, because that's what I was going to ask you. I don't know what the status is there. All right, so no team's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. This is what they're going to try to accomplish this season. And very specifically, you're now looking at Patrick Mahomes chasing down some of the legendary quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Tom Brady with 7 titles, Montana with 4. I mean, 4 is really that huge number that Mahomes can make that big jump. I suppose, I guess, eventually you would assume that this would happen, but I'm from a day and age where you just didn't know if Manning was ever going to win a Super Bowl or Dan Marino was ever going to win a Super Bowl. And so you just never know when these things come and go. But I would assume at some point Mahomes is going to have his shot at 4.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to think so right now. I mean, it's funny because on one side, I think history tells you to pick somebody else because no one has done this before. But then you really struggle. Like, who are you going to pick in the AFC? There's a lot of good, worthy contenders. I mean, Baltimore is a really good team. I really like Cincinnati if they can get back healthy. Everybody is on the Houston Texans bandwagon heading into this season. But it's funny to say for a team that won the Super Bowl the last 2 years, I actually think this could be the best version of the Chiefs over the last 3 seasons. You mentioned the defense earlier, Craig. They were second in scoring defense last year. So think about the Chiefs last year with their offense, with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid. They were 17th in points scored last year. So they get back to a top 10 offense, and I think they're going to have a top 10 defense. This team has as good of a chance as any team in the National Football League to do this. And you haven't asked me this question, but it's related to it. I think it's going to be really difficult for Mahomes to have the argument, I'm the greatest quarterback of all time. You lost to Brady in the Super Bowl. You lost to Brady in the AFC Championship game, and that's probably going to be the tiebreaker. But, I mean, there's one thing that Tom Brady has never done. He never won 3 Super Bowls in a row. If you want to be able to make that claim of I'm the best quarterback of all time, you probably need 5 rings, and maybe you win 3 in a row. I mean, that would maybe give you a case. And Mahomes is probably going to have all of the records. He's going to throw most touchdowns, most yards, all of those things. I mean, that would probably be the pathway to making the argument of I'm the greatest quarterback of all time.
Carrington, awesome analysis. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. Talk soon.
I appreciate you guys.
Are there any grave issues that would keep Team USA from winning a gold medal?
Should they be minus 430 against the field or whatever the price is right now? Maybe. But am I looking at, hey, Europe as a continent to win the Olympics at plus 500 as an interesting bet? Yeah, because one, they have 5 teams in the Olympics out of the 12.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He talked about Major League Baseball and its rule, or actually its relationship with sports betting and gambling.
Integrity is the foremost concern, and a lot of people are questioning that given all the scandals, right? There's Mercado, there's Pat Hoberg, one of the best umpires in MLB, suspended right now. We don't exactly know what he did, but he's been disciplined, and he hasn't umpired a game this year.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tips has been rewarded. And he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire. As we wrap up the show today, we've got some topics to discuss. Of course, we'll go back to Paris for the Olympics, also to the NFL gridiron, as well as touching on a story that just keeps changing by the month. I'll tell you what I mean. It's time now for some last licks. All right, we start off with soccer. This is the NWSL. The NWSL. Just want to be clear on which soccer league this is. A few months ago, I came on the show and said, oh my gosh, there's somebody 16 playing in a professional soccer league. And then a couple of months later, I said, wow, somebody 15 years old is playing in a professional soccer league. And I said, the next time I come on is probably going to be somebody that's 14. And here we are. Congratulations to McKenna Witham. I keep making jokes about this, but when are they going to start? Is some kid going to be 8 years old playing soccer? McKenna Witham is 14. Is this right? 14 years old playing for the New York squad in the NWSL. She made her debut yesterday. It wasn't a pivotal moment in the game, but she becomes the youngest soccer ever to play professional division soccer, which is just super incredible when you think about it. Now, again, sports getting younger across the board, but it does seem like soccer is that one sport where we're seeing this progressively get younger and younger. So congratulations to her, 14 years old. So I guess, Frank, next time we come on the show and talk soccer and the youngest is going to 13. I guess that's like next month, 13-year-old professional soccer player. Okay, Brock Purdy with some very interesting comments made in the media. He is the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of people say this is going to be a watershed year for him, really big season. Again, he was certainly one of the least heralded quarterbacks. Is he a system quarterback? Is he a good quarterback? Well, a lot of comparisons are made to him. And although physique-wise not the same, Tom Brady. And Brock Purdy, in fact, had comments to talk about Brady, saying that going into this season, late in a game when lead is on the line, he wants to get that feeling that he is Tom Brady, like in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. And why not? Wouldn't any quarterback make these sort of comments? Why is anybody even crushing this kid for saying that? Like, if you're not aspiring to be the very best in your sport, what are you trying to do? Now, I understand social media is having fun with this, saying, oh, no comparison between Purdy and Brady, but why? Like, this is exactly what you want. You want your player to think they can be the very best ever. Otherwise, why are they even doing this? Now, realism sets in and you understand kind of who you are, but publicly, why not aim for the best? I got no issue whatsoever with Brock Purdy trying to be Brady in that third and fourth quarter. Now, as we close it out, we could only close it out in one way. There he is again, our record-breaking SportsGrid end of show, last licks appearance. It's like when Saturday Night Live has their hosts, so 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Snoop Dogg's in our story again. This time, Snoop Dogg watching tennis at the Paris Olympics. That's not the big deal here. The big deal here is that look who he was watching the Paris Olympics next to. I know it's kind of hard to see. But that is Billie Jean King, arguably one of the greatest, if not greatest, tennis players of all time. Just Snoop Dogg and Billie Jean King hanging out, watching tennis at the Paris Olympics. It has been quite the run for Snoop overseas. I don't even know what match that was, by the way. Does it say that there, Frank? I didn't even see. But I know that he was watching a tennis match there yesterday. All right, that will do it for our show today. Let me set you up for the rest of the day here on SportsGrid. In fact, folks, a brand new show that we have been airing. Want to make sure you catch it. Scott Kaplan does such a phenomenal job both on TV and radio. He's coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern live. So make sure you catch that show, Kaplan and crew. 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. They're out on the West Coast talking plenty of sports. That's 1 o'clock exclusively here on SportsGrid. At 3 o'clock Eastern, it is a Monday, so Scott Farrell is back in the house. Farrell coast to coast from 3 o'clock to 6 p.m. Eastern. Game time decisions at 6. That's followed by in-game live prime time. And then Gabe and Sports Rage tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern all the way through 1 a.m. and lots of Olympics coverage on his show as well. In addition, I want to thank our contributors here to NewsWire today. Mike Mazzeo from Legal Sports Report, Carlan Gay from Sporting News, and Carrington covered the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Appreciate his participation as well. You can follow all of them on social media. Our producer of the show is Frankie B, and I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. tomorrow, a really big morning for us here on NewsWire. It is the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We will be hours away from it. We'll update everything that happens today and see if we can get ahead of the stuff tomorrow. I'll see you then. Have a great day.